Tidbits. Today's topic, a lot of T's today, isn't there? Today's topic of leadership styles. We're going to also just take a little side trail off into team styles as well, or team development. So appreciate if you could hop into the chat, let us know where you're joining from. Was anybody out on the roads this morning? I know out here in, where do I live? Springfield, little on the icy dicey side, and the big boy, the oldest child, came up from the basement 3 minutes before the bus comes and says, I think I need a ride. I'm like, what? Oh, good time. So thanks everybody for hopping in, letting us know where you're joining from. Look at all over the province. I love it. Just as a reminder who we are, where we're at, and all of those things, you're with Workplace Education Manitoba. We love helping people to develop essential skills that are needed for work, learning, and life. Yes, all of the things are covered in ice. I know. Oh, and that's the kind that's hard to scrape off, right? You'll see on the screen here, wem.mb.ca. This is our I guess, the head spaceship of this organization. That's where you'll find more information about our funding and our vision and all of those good things. Our vision, speaking of, is that all Manitobans have access to the essential skills, knowledge, and training required to determine and pursue their goals related to learning, the workplace, and life. Okay, so even though we're talking about leadership styles today and a little sniff at Bruce Tuckman's levels of teams and all of this sort of thing, keep in mind as we go through this, how can I transfer this to my home, to my community, to my volunteer capacities? Because as we open our eyes to that, you're going to start to see how all of these things relate. As a reminder as well, for those of you that enjoy hearing all this stuff at the beginning of every single online training we do, well, for one, it helps us to connect with the work that we do, and also as a reminder that this training has been funded. So it's coming to you at no cost. Thank you to Employment and Social Development Canada and Manitoba Education and Training. And this project was jointly funded through Human Resource Skills Development Canada and Entrepreneurship Training and Trade. Once again, our main website here, wem.mb.ca, or if you feel like emailing us, those of you that have taken email etiquette will know how to do it with compassion and kindness through info@wem.mb.ca. And welcome, Sleet and Stonewall. I think that sounds like a new podcast or like a mystery book or something. And Leslie, thanks for joining from Winnipeg. Now, we talk about our essential skills. What does it mean? What are they? And how do they apply to our discussion today? Well, the bottom layer here at the base of our pyramid, we have reading, document use, numeracy, writing, and digital technology, aka computer use. Then on that second layer, oral communication, working with others, thinking skills, and continuous learning. We consider the role of leaders in any organization, they better be able to communicate clearly, right? I think that communication is one of those main things. Personally, I see it as this giant umbrella that says communication on it, pick your favorite color, and underneath of that, all of our other things like leadership styles, like conflict, like emotional intelligence, building trust in teams, all of these things in my, I guess it's a humble opinion, follow under this umbrella of communication. So today, looking at, of course, oral communication, working with others, thinking skills, right? Being able to shift, make great decisions, continuous learning, that's why you're here. Of course, this baseline helps us to get there, right? Reading, document use, numeracy, writing, and digital technology. Now, before I hop right into the leading teams, keep in mind that we do offer other courses. We have our website here at the Interlake of WEM, interlake.ca. Also, we have a West Center, and our West Center is for anyone that's looking for some upskilling. And I'm just going to hop back a slide here. In our West Center, we look at this main bottom row, right? We're looking at those essential skills of helping folks increase their reading abilities, document use, numeracy, which is math, right? I didn't want to say the M word on a Tuesday, but here we are, math, writing, and digital technology. And in fact, just before we went into shutdown again, one thing we were showing in Selkirk anyway was a computer class on Tuesday. So anybody that's looking for some upskilling, whether it's someone in your family or someone in your workplace, right? These are things that we offer there. So feel free to contact us in our Interlake office for more information on that. Leading teams. Did I load the wrong slide? Let's see where this goes, guys. We might be in for a surprise. But to start here, think about someone who has been a leader in your life, someone who you admire for their leadership skills. And then let's fill the chat with those characteristics that made them so effective or make them so effective. Perhaps it's someone you're working with right now. Okay, so let's hop in and list all of those things. Yes, outgoing, personable, totally. Oh my gosh, Annie, believe in me. Wow, okay, I'm trying to keep up here, guys. This is amazing. This is what I wanted. Good listening skills, Krista, yes. Yes, Tina too. Initiative, trusting, honest, clear communication, both oral and written. Who is this dream person, right? Supportive, good communicator. Let me learn from my mistakes. Oh my gosh. One that I love to focus on strength. I've worked in both lands, friends, and let me tell you, way more effective. Know how to build trust, right? They just have all of those things. High emotional intelligence, helping, just to keep that clarity moving through the oral communication. Just being there when needed, absolutely. Eric, thank you for this. They're knowledgeable, right? They actually know what they're talking about. Now, how many of us, and this is maybe more of a show of an internal hand, how many of these characteristics do we have? Do we own? And maybe it changes from day to day, right? These characteristics are all things we should be looking for in ourselves for leadership. I think being able to manage and handle change. Yes, they're encouraging, absolutely. So wonderful. I think we could probably go all day here on this one. I've been thinking a lot lately about my orchestra teacher in high school, and actually went out and rented a cello, because what else do you do in a pandemic but relearn how to play a cello? And I started thinking about some of those characteristics that she had, and definitely she believed in people, right? She saw what they couldn't see for themselves. And a lot of times in the workplace, a really great leader can do that. It's almost as if they're able to pull all of that goodness out. Hey, we could have like dueling cellos. Move over, piano guys, right? Aren't those guys amazing? Oh my gosh. Here's a great quote from Warren Bennis talking about the difference between management and leadership. He said, management is getting people to do what needs to be done. Leadership is getting people to want to do what needs to be done. Managers push, leaders pull, managers command, leaders communicate. Now, here's the thing with that. In the past, in my, when I was less naive, I can't even say that I, am totally away from that now, but, a little less naive. I used to think that, having management was kind of, why bother, right? That seems really boring. Nobody really wants that. Who wants to be commanded, And then leadership is like this happy unicorn lollipop fairyland. But I learned something interesting from this article here about the importance of both and being able to balance. We don't manage people. People manage themselves. What we do is lead them. And so in this article, it talks about that balance between leading people, managing processes and systems, and getting our own work done, right? Handling those day-to-day tasks. So spoiler alert, the truth is we need both. He compares it to the wings on an airplane. Which one do you want more, the right wing or the left wing? Personally, I want both. actually. So being able to look at how the things that we do in a day, if you were to make a list, you know, and this is maybe an invitation for your little pre-tidbit homework, make a list of all the things you do in a day at work. Let's just put that in there and decide, am I leading people in this task or am I managing a process? Or is this the actual work that I'm getting done? And you may find that there's some crossover, right? There's some shared things that even though I'm working on a process, I can still lead people in that. It's interesting, guys. Anyway, grab that article. You just click on it, it'll pop open in another tab and you can have a read at it in a bit. So knowing our leadership styles. Now, oh my goodness, there's so much in the internet about leadership styles. For today, we're looking at Hershey and Blanchard. So this idea of the team leadership, authoritarian, socialite, impoverished, and middle of the road. There are a lot of other ones. We could look at the transformative leader or transactional leadership. There's a million different types, right? And even as we look at this image here, we can see that there are varying degrees within each one. So for example, authoritarian, if we take our eyes down to that bottom right-hand corner, we see concern for the task being high and concern for the people being low. So if you keep an eye on these two axes here, the concern for the task and concern for the people, and some of us are right in the middle of the road there where we can navigate through all of these. So we look at authoritarian, obviously strong on task, weak on those people skills. Country club leader, strong on people, weak on tasks. Laissez-faire, weak on tasks, weak on people. Hello, maybe it's time to move on. Or, you know, be reignited as to why you're leading. And then our team leader, strong on tasks, strong on people skills. Seems like that's the place we want to be, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at each one of these though. Our authoritarian leader are strong, and of course these are, you know, asterisks all over the place here, right? This are usually what we see with this style. Strong on schedules, they expect people to do what they're told without question or debate. Now, when something goes wrong, they tend to focus on who is to blame rather than concentrate on exactly what is wrong and how to prevent it. So that's kind of one of those leadership styles that, you know, maybe in the, you know, a case of a crisis or something like that, we would shift to that more of a telling style, the authoritarian style. But when we look at it this way, we tend to focus on who is to blame. Are we winning and influencing? They are intolerant of what they see as dissent. So this might be someone's creativity, their ideas. So it's difficult for the subordinates to contribute or develop if they're living under this kind of regime all the time in this authoritarian lens, right? Not a lot of people are going to be able to make suggestions or be a part of problem solving. It can be a really challenging land to live in. Now our team leader, remember that little graph there, we had high on task, high on relationship. These leaders lead by positive example. They endeavor to foster a team environment where every single member on the team can reach their highest potential, not just in the team, not just in the workplace, but also as people, right? As human beings. And it's great to see this. By show of thumbs up, how many of you feel that this is a land that you live in or that you have lived in at one point or another, where you had this really strong team, right? They encourage team goals, work effectively as possible, while also working to strengthen those bonds among the various members. Thank you, guys. So great, right? Isn't it so wonderful to live in this land? I've talked to people that haven't lived in this land, and they're like, what? You can be happy at work and feel fulfilled and like develop as a person and in your role? I'm like, yeah, that's totally possible. Now, the sad thing is, when people don't live in this land, it's hard for them to see anything but this, right? So thankfully, those of us that know, we know. So we normally form and lead some of the most productive teams as well. And I think that's another way we can see that we consider that idea of team development as well as our leadership. How do we know we're there? We're getting stuff done. And even if there is conflict, it's constructive conflict. It's not dysfunctional. Wow, that's a whole other topic. Don't get me started. So country club leader, anybody watch The Office? I think of Michael Scott. These leaders predominantly use reward power to maintain discipline and encourage the team to accomplish its goals. So we want to make sure in this one, if this is our style, to make sure that our people are feeling supported in the tasks that they do. Country club leader can help build trust in the team in the sense of that high relationship. However, what can happen sometimes is when we don't focus on the task, we might not be as productive. Also, we see sometimes, again, keep in mind those asterisks are still here, they're incapable of employing the more punitive, coercive, and legitimate powers. They don't love, that idea of corrective feedback, which we totally need. We need both positive and corrective feedback, don't we? Now, they're worried, of course, that if they have to use those disciplinary, in quotations here, powers, that it could jeopardize the relationship with the other team members. They don't want to be seen as the mean person, right? Or my other favorite workplace show right now is Superstore. I know I'm late to the party on that one, but still super funny. All right, this next one, laissez-faire, low task, low relationship. Wah, wah, right? Do we hear it? Delegate and disappear management style. I have shared this in the past, so apologies to those of you that are on repeat with this story. I have worked under this leader, the laissez-faire leader, who would legit, you guys, delegate a task and then disappear. Not just shutting the door, literally like actually leaving the building, not joking, wondering if they had a second job. That's just my thought. So it seems like, and it is true, they're not committed to either the task or the maintenance of it, which is challenging because then what do we see, right? The team does whatever it wants. They detach themselves from the team process, the leader does, and then power struggle. And as someone, like I said, I can testify to this, that very thing started to happen. It wasn't quite Lord of the Flies or something like that, but we got into a bit of a power struggle. We didn't have a defined second person or like an assistant manager. We just had a manager and then our team. And so there was one person who didn't really want to take over that supervisor role, but really was the best person for the job. And even that became a struggle. Guys, it's not a great land to live in. We need to understand where our team is at, and this can help us to adjust our own leadership style to meet the needs of the team. Many of us grew up, and I say this one over and over, many of us grew up with the golden rule, which is a really great starting place. The golden rule says that we should treat people how we want to be treated. Hello, see a problem with this? Right? We're all different. We have different communication styles. Same thing happens in teams. We need to be able to have that flexibility to treat our team how they need to be treated. It's so true. So here it is, Bruce Tuckman's team performance. Thumbs up if you guys are familiar with this. Forming, storming, norming, and performing. Each team is somewhere along this path. Anytime we add someone or take someone away, even if we were in this norming or performing land, it drops us back down to forming, okay? So forming is where we're figuring out our roles and responsibilities. And in storming, well, we eventually get to that point where things aren't so great, right? Where we're now having maybe some conflict, it's a bit dysfunctional. And eventually, with some coaching and all this stuff, we eventually move to norming. Apologies, guys. Pretty sure my mom's trying to call me. And then eventually, we get to performing. And like I said earlier, we know that we're there because why? Because we're getting stuff done. So does anybody would like to let me know, do you know where your team is at? You don't have to tell us where it is, but just a thumbs up if you think you know where your team is sitting at. Mm-hmm. And this one can be tricky too. I remember working with a group, and we even did there's an assessment that goes with this that we can share with you. If you're interested, we can bring this into your workplace virtually in this moment, but we're happy to do that, where you can do an assessment. And what happened in this one group, the person was really confused because their answer came out all over the place. Okay, so it comes out in numbers and blah, 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 right? So their numbers were all over the map. And it was interesting because this person had been at the organization for a while, and I looked at it and I said, I hate to tell you something. We've got two answers here. Either you don't have a clear idea of where your team is performing, which I don't believe that was true, or you're in storming. And I just remember locking eyes because it was back in the days when we used to see people. And we just locked eyes and went, whoa, right? This group had been living in storming for so long that storming became their norming. Mm-hmm. And he's so awesome, right? And it's tricky how and maybe with, because you live in this a lot, right? This change all the time. It's hard to go from that norming or forming to norming in a quick amount of time, unless we understand the different leadership styles. So I'm old enough to have been in school when they used transparencies, when these were clear and you could put them over top of each other. Yes, that is true. So if we look at our leadership styles are on the right and our team styles are on the left. So if we are in a forming, we better be using more of a telling, not quite authoritarian, but, pulling from that style just a little bit, that we're in this telling mode. We're letting our team know, and they are relying on us heavily in this forming land. Then, hopefully, storming is good, guys. It's not something to be too worried about, unless, like I said, we end up living there and it becomes our norm. So in storming, we can't be delegating to our people. We're coaching, we're selling, we're working along with them and helping them to understand roles and responsibilities. Because here's the thing, if they don't, we get lost there. Then, as we move along through norming in our group function, our team function, we now are participating. Guess what? We get to do our own work at this point. Hurrah, right? And then, of course, moving through, if we're in a performing stage, we know we can delegate and support. We're not delegating and disappearing. We're delegating and supporting. Now, what I have seen and what I have experienced is, we know as we're strong leaders, we know that delegating is an important part of a leadership characteristics and our toolbox and all of this, and we start delegating to a team that's informing or storming because we think it's the right thing to do. And normally it could be, but here's the thing. If our team hasn't figured things out and we're trying to treat them how we want to be treated because we're the professional, right? If we're trying to treat them like they're in performing, we're going to be losing out, right? We need to have that flexibility and awareness to say, guess what, guys? My team's in storming. I can't be delegating to them. I need to be with them. I need to be coaching them and helping them move through this cycle. And, if we look back just for a split second here, we all want to be performing, right? We all want to get there, or even somewhere in between norming and performing, so that we can see higher productivity. Because the truth is, we're not going to be as efficient and effective when we're stuck in forming and storming. Now, that's the challenging thing with seasonal business, right? Because we have people coming and going every year. So working on moving our people through forming, storming, norming, and performing, and repeating that cycle again and again. Good for you. Like, honest to goodness, so challenging. But when we look at it this way, I hope this makes sense to you guys, to be able to use each one of these strategies depending on where our team is at. And that's the big thing, is to have that flexibility. Now, how do we know? Do a SWOT, right? Do a personal SWOT. How do we do this? Many of you have done it. I know that, but let's just quickly go through what it looks like. Our strengths. What sets you apart? Look at how do you handle a compliment, right? Are you saying things like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just that, this person explains the idea so well. Or are you saying, thank you? I'd like to think it's one of my strengths. A friend of mine recently changed jobs. And in this new job, they have a very strong culture of positive feedback. This person isn't used to that. And so when someone said, wow, you really helped me out there. You really were able to solve that problem. I would have never done it that way. This person didn't know how to handle it, right? Because they haven't lived in that land. It's like crying emoji, right? Because they don't know what it's like to receive that positive feedback. And so if we're that person and we're not used to receiving positive feedback, remember that this could be part of the culture, right? Like hopefully it is. My hopes and dreams are that everybody has that in their culture. And so when someone gives you a compliment, we say thank you. It's simple, right? So with our strengths, what are we good at? What do people compliment us on? What do I do? What skills do I possess that set me apart? Right? This is where we can really be proud of ourselves. We can look at our education and knowledge, our experience, our competencies, our interests, personality traits, resources that we have to draw upon, and our connections. Now, our weaknesses, sometimes this is the part where we just, I don't really want to talk about, right? Or we're the type of person that only focuses on weakness. Man, that sounds rough. Right? So our weaknesses, like we have here, they're not necessarily something to be ashamed of. It's also not a life sentence, but know that it could be holding us back from achieving our goals. So also, downplaying our weakness, we got the rose-colored glasses here, right? We want to be realistic in the goals that we're setting for ourselves. So by knowing our weaknesses, we can work to eliminate them, or at least at the very least, manage them or avoid situations in which they can harm you. Now, how do we sort them out? What do you lack that others around you have? What things do you know you could do better? And many of us are masters of deception. Even if others don't know what you're weak on, you know. So being honest with ourselves. Do you have any habits or characteristics that plague you on the job or at home? What do you receive constant or consistent criticism for? Maybe it's not constant, but consistent over the years. And what do other people see as your weakness? So what can I do better, right? That's what we want to look at with weaknesses. And then opportunities. So we take those strengths that we have, we leverage them into opportunities. So looking at our opportunities, any trends and changes you could predict that might occur in the future. What do you hope to take advantage of sometime in the future? So we look at how do we turn our strengths into opportunities? How do we even create opportunities by enhancing strengths or managing or eliminating those weaknesses? And another thing to consider is what's happening in your company that might be an opportunity for you. Not every move is upward. Some of our moves could be lateral as well. Consider what's happening in your industry, or maybe taking that leap to an industry you've had your eye on for a while. I think the pandemic has shone a light on that, I hope anyway, that we're able to have better change management, right? To be a bit more risk-taking when it comes to things. Some of us maybe not necessarily on purpose, but just where the things are going. We look at all of those other trends, political, economical. Are we working towards any goals that will present opportunities? Aim for the stars. And then, of course, our threats. Our threats are things that have the potential to jeopardize our success. We can't necessarily control them directly, but we can manage, contain, or neutralize them. Okay, just so they don't cause harm. What obstacles are you facing? What are your weaknesses? Are they strong enough to threaten your success? What's holding you back? Daniel Goleman, author, finisher of Emotional Intelligence. Loving him. Follow him on LinkedIn. Go ahead, get his newsletter, all of the things, the videos and such, because listen to this amazing quote. The best leaders don't know just one style of leadership. They're skilled at several and have the flexibility to switch between styles as the circumstances dictate. Thanks for joining our webinar today. I hope as we go forward, we'll gain that flexibility that we need to have in order to manage our teams. Take care, everyone.